Welcome back to Speak Pact. We are thrilled that you decided to join us today. This is the live version, so you get to ask questions and interact with us along the way. If you're joining in on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, and chat away. We're going to answer questions for you. So, as you know, I'm Antoniette Rose, the host of the Speak Pack podcast. And today I have the host of the Goals Do Come True podcast, Doug Bennett. And what's really neat about Doug is he has created, from his expertise as a financial planner and his love for travel and for designing a lifestyle that means more play and less work. He's really created and in the evolution of continuing to create a model to help you do the same. So we're going to dive in to some of those details together in this next 45 minutes. So welcome to the stage, Doug.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to share some of my stuff.
Yeah, well, one of the things that really impressed upon me and was one of the reasons why I reached out to you to be a guest on our show is number one, that you interlink profession with dreams and desires with goals, right? And we've all heard make goals, make the list of goals, do the goals. You've actually created a top 5% podcast on that subject, which is no easy feat in the land of hundreds of thousands of podcasts, right? So tell me a little bit about that. What made you hone in on, okay, goals is the answer for me to get the lifestyle I desire, and it's going to be the way that I can help others do the same. Can you kind of bring us on that journey with you?
Yeah, well, it starts back in 2004, and I had a little tiny notebook. I was listening to an audio cassette, which dates me, of Brian Tracy, and
Mm,
he
yeah.
suggested that you write your goals down on a day by day basis. And so I had this little notebook, and I wrote 10 goals down each day, and then the following day you don't look at the goals that you wrote yesterday. You just write down another set of 10, and then gradually over a period of time, the uh, the really serious goals, the ones that are really important to you, they're like cream. They rise to the top of the list. So you end up after a period of time of writing down the same 10 goals. Now, very often what will happen is a goal will come in and it's only important to you on that day, and then it never makes the list again. So, it was a transient goal. Now, the thing is, you need to find out what your core goals are so that you can build your plan around those. But anyway, so this little goals book, I wrote it down, wrote them goals down, wrote the goals down, and I rediscovered it. I think 4 or 5 years later, maybe even 6 years later, and it was just tucked away in the drawer. You know what us entrepreneurs are like. We're shiny objects in syndrome. So this was the thing, and I kept it going for a little while, and then got bored, and so it got tucked away in the drawer, and I found it. And when I had a look, I'd completed 10 out of 11 of the goals that were on the list, even though I'd stopped sort of following the process. Then I had a situation where the global financial crisis of 2008,
Hmm.
um, yeah, which we all got through. Well, there was a stage before then, actually, in 2006 stroke 7. Both my parents passed away within 12 weeks of each other, and they were just aged 64 and 63. So with my inheritance, I bought a big place because I was, on it. I was going to be taking over the world. And in 2008, my business disappeared,
Mm,
as many, businesses did. And I was robbing Peter to pay Paul, and racking up credit card and loans. And
yeah.
by the end of 2010, I was actually on the edge of bankruptcy. Um, we would call it an IVA, an individual voluntary arrangement. It's just a step before bankruptcy in the UK. Uh, and I got some support from the people that I was working with. And this is crazy, right? I'm a financial advisor. You shouldn't let that sort of thing happen, but I just got caught out, as many people did. But then I rediscovered the little goals book, so I started rewriting my goals on a regular basis, and gradually over time, my target was 100,000 uh, turnover, then it was 100,000 net profit, and then 100,000 for my income, personal income, and then so I used the 100,000 as a sort of a target, but in many iterations. Then, of course, you increase your targets when you have goals. So I increased it to 200,000, and then I increased it to 250,000, quarter of a million. And so that goal was gradually increasing, and I was writing it down, and I was dating my little book. And then in my wife, um, back then, was doing my books for me. And when she did my accounts, when I'd had the 250,000 goal, my books came in from various different bits and pieces of my business at 250,268 pounds. So within like a very, very small percentage of that target. So I thought there's something in this goals malarkey, if you like. So I increased my figure to 500,000, and that was I think in 2018. And then in 2019, I sold a big chunk of my business, and the firm that bought my financial services, or part of my financial services business, paid me 500,000 in 2019 and 500,000 plus in 2020. So you can manifest it if you like. It's woo woo if you like. I don't know. I just wrote the goal down, and it happened. So
There's
on the
something to be
back of
said too. If you don't have a target, you can't hit the target. Or
you
if there's
can't
not
hit it.
something that
Yeah.
you're aiming for, you can't hit it. So I know that's something we've all heard, but obviously it worked on your behalf.
Yeah, big time, big time.
I
And
remember
then
you sharing that
as a
story with, oh, you go ahead. There's a little bit of a
no,
delay.
no, no, that's fine. I have to say I'm in Tunisia at the moment, and the Wi-Fi is not the best in the whole wide world. I decided to take 5 weeks off and spend Christmas in Tunisia, attempting this
See, I mean,
nomad
is that
lifestyle.
that that alone? Let's not gloss over that, Doug, because I think the last time when you interviewed me for your amazing podcast, I love your podcast. Um, I think you were somewhere else. I can't remember. Like you get to design your life. So what? Uh, and again, it's a journey. I think if you ever arrive and the journey's over, what fun is in that? But you've sent me a picture of your motorcycle. There's just been some neat things that I've gotten to see you experience, and that doesn't just happen. You have, if you want to call it, intentions or some targets that you set, whatever that might be, in your breast pocket in that little notebook. The power of that. I think when we spoke last time, we talked about once you do tell yourself what you want, then yourself works in the background to get you that thing. If you tell yourself it can't be done or you shouldn't do that because you're a financial advisor, what are you going to do? Taking 5 weeks off, right? Then your whole self is going to make sure to protect you and keep you busy enough where you're just not going to make that happen. So somehow you had the courage along the way to step out of the logic brain from a financial advisor, right? To and not even that you stepped out of it, you expanded it to include your dreams as well. So you can speak on that a little bit.
Well, yeah. The thing, going back, my parents passing away at age 64 and 63. Okay, I'm 61 now, so it was a little while back. You only get one shot on this planet. Okay, and I came close actually in June 2023. Um, I came off my motorbike at 95 miles an hour
Oh my
on a
goodness.
German autobahn. I have to say it was on a German autobahn where there's no speed limit. Okay,
Wow.
so because I don't want people getting excited about the fact, well, you were going too fast. You know,
Right.
it's like, yes, I was going too fast, but I was allowed to go too fast because
Yes.
that was the thing. But yeah, no, I just lost control. The bike started wobbling and I lost control. So I should be dead. To be fair, I should be dead. No, not many people survive a 95 miles an hour
Mm-mm.
straight motorcycle accident. So I do seize the day, and very much, any of my friends say, Doug, would you like to? We don't even need the end of the sentence. It doesn't matter what comes after. Would you like to? The answer is yes, because if they're a friend of mine, they know what I like. They know what I'm prepared to do. They know, it's like they're asking me, so they want me to join them. So let's go do it. You know, that's my whole philosophy. And I just thought, do you know what? It's a bit cold in the UK at this time of the year. I broke. I've got metalwork in my foot, in my right foot, and my left shoulder blade, and so when it's cold, it aches. So I thought, oh, do you know what? When the worst of the cold is, I'm going to be somewhere warmer, and so I just decided,
It is
right,
a
okay, I'm going to.
miracle that at 95 miles an hour on a motorbike, there were any pieces to put back together. So you have
Well,
some
yeah.
you have some work to do in this world, obviously. Some more.
Well, that's what I was considering, and I was back on a motorcycle by the 9th of November, despite all those broken bones. I broke 6 or 7 ribs as well. I cracked the ribs, broke my shoulder blade, and cracked my shoulder socket, and broke my
Wow.
foot in 3 places. But it's like it's
Okay.
what do they say? It's a flesh wound.
I'm glad you're still here. Just an incredible story.
Me too.
Okay, so you're
Me
the
too.
goal. You're known as the goals guy. You have a top 5% podcast on the subject. You're a financial freedom advisor, and you're also the author of Think Simple, Win Big. So I am the queen of overcomplicating everything. How do you go from that to being okay with simple? Excellent still, but not so much complexity. How do you get your brain there outside of listening to your podcast and reading your book?
Okay. Well, life is very often very very simple, and we just let our brains, which are incredibly capable, organisms themselves, we just let it get carried away sometimes. And so I just tend to, like, look at things, think about them quite a bit, and then think, well, what is the easy way for this to be done? Um, and and very often it's the age old fundamental wisdom that we've all heard previously and have grown up with. And it's unfortunate, I think, that the youngsters of today are not learning the age old wisdom. So I just felt I needed to put some, like, simple stuff. If you're going to run a business, if you want to develop a business, and it really is for people at the start of their journey that think simple, win big. It's how to build the business of your dreams with a few simple goals. So that's the actual full title. But it is like, well, there are fundamental things, like you've got to be nice to people. You really have, you know, and there is no reason not to be nice to people.
Mm-mm. Well, and
And
there's
and it,
nothing
and it's
worse
that
than a
simple.
diva, right? There's even as a speaker, if you're a diva, you are going to get referred and called less. Like maybe you are all that, but treat people with kindness and patience and goodness, right? All the things. Be kind. I love that you brought that up.
Well, I've got a perfect example here. So the apartment that I'm in now in Tunisia, I was in another one. It's only turned up on 2 days ago, 3 days ago, and I was in the apartment down there, and it was a perfectly good apartment. But they started um, bashing out the bathroom in the apartment
Oh
above,
no, remodeling.
remodeling. And it's like I've got people to clients to speak to, I've got podcasts to record, and I can't have that going on. And also, the Wi-Fi was very, very ropey,
Mm.
you know. So I just had a little nice, gentle, kind word using Google Translate with the owner, and I said, look, this is what I'm doing. You did say to me that we had 20 meg download speeds, and it's actually 2 or 3. So
Oh
what can
wow,
we do about it?
that's a big
Yeah,
discrepancy.
that's a big
So
discrepancy.
instead
But
of going grumpily saying, "Hey, hey," you just spoke to them. Hmm.
I just spoke to him, and had a nice calm. And he's moved me to a different apartment in the same block, which is bigger. He's not charging me anymore. It's closer to the Wi-Fi. He's got me a booster so that the Wi-Fi is even better. And it's like, well, I could have gone off my trolley, as a UK phrase, at him, but what value would that have? It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And that's the thing
Right.
that I found all the way through my life. Just be kind. You know, if people are a bit, you know, uh, I don't know what words I'm allowed to use, but agitated, they're probably just having a bad day. Most people are not really that way in their normal makeup. So you just got to give people the benefit of the doubt and be
I
kind.
think it has to do with when you set your targets, that you also tell yourself to plan for the expect the best, but plan for things not going exactly the way you expect. If you enter into situations, even speaking engagements, where you think you know where the podium is going to be, or that wireless mic setup you feel like you know what you're going to walk into, nothing ever works out that way, right? There's always something that's going to be outside of what you're expecting. And if you've already told yourself that you're going to be able to be flexible and flow with that, number one, the event organizer will be ever so thankful, because that poor event organizer is likely being barked at from 50 different directions. I know, because I actually used to produce very large scale events. And instead of being demanding, be kind and helpful. First of all, you could have said something to the effect of, "Hey, I lugged my bags up here. I got all situated. I hung up my shirts. And now you're having me pack up and move." You could have been difficult, or you could have given the guy a break and say, "Okay, well, thank you for making the concessions. Let me just pack up and I'll go on over there." Right. So it's really all about those micro choices along the way that add up to, number one, how people remember you and whether or not they're interested in referring you or having you back.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the number I've got so many examples where the end result is so much better than it could possibly ever be, and the seeds were sown very simply earlier on in the day. And if you're kind and nice, people remember you. I, I
I,
I was at a conference. This is crazy. I was at a conference. I went to get a coffee. There were 7,000 people at the conference. I was in the queue and I bought my coffee. I went back the following day. It was the same server. And she said, "Oh, hi, how are you doing?" Now, there was nobody else was getting spoken to in any way, shape, or form. I went, "Well, how on earth did you remember me?" She said, "You were the only person yesterday who said please and thank you."
oh my goodness. Wow. See? That goes so far. So far. I
It
love
doesn't
that.
take much.
I love what you said also about you don't know. We don't know the bigger plan in any given day or scenario. And I do have a friend, this is some years ago, but he's a big, pretty famous performer, singer. And he had to make this flight because he had an engaged he had a gig, right? And he got there just in the nick of time. They had just closed their doors. They could have opened them back up for him, but they said no. And he got a bit upset, a bit huffy, and he's kind of a faith-based singer. And so later he was really feeling convicted and sad about it. But then that plane actually came down and there were no survivors.
Oh,
And he tried to force his way onto that airplane because there was a lot at stake on the other side. But for whatever reason, there was a different plan for him. Of course, we do our best, but when we get to the point where we're, you know, fighting or trying to force something to work, sometimes just that whole attitude of open-handedness, I guess, and kindness can have a can have outcomes that we obviously that was an extreme one, but it, even with your
mm,
situation, can have outcomes that are better it, that we could not foresee, but that it does turn out better. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Life is destiny. You know, we've got such a short time on the planet. You know, there's really no need to be anything other than nice.
yes.
It's fleeting, our time here. Fleeting.
This is a big message for emerging speakers because what I find is that the more established speakers, the ones who are more seasoned and more celebrated, more in demand, they seem to have already got most seem to have already gotten this along the way. You would think it'd be in the reverse, right? That the ones that are kind of arrived and they're in demand, they would be a little bit more demanding and less kind. I don't know. Yeah, that's a stigmatism, but that's what you would think. But actually, it's in the reverse. Those emerging speakers who's like, I will not speak for that. I will only take $20,000 for my talk when they haven't even really made $5,000 for a talk. And I want the perfect setup and don't, all the things. Um, I think that they learn if they're going to actually make it in the speaking business, they need to drop that really fast. It's funny how they
Mm,
go in with the attitude, but they not all. I'm just, talking in generalities, but I see that happen where they realize, oh, I'm not going to get very far playing the role of some ultra important person. Everyone is important. That's my view. Is I don't care if you're
mm.
president or a janitor, we are equally as important. And people feel that. Certainly your audience feels that. They're going to receive you and accept what you have to bring to the table a whole lot better if they know that you value them just as much as you value yourself, or maybe one of their own heroes in the professional or speaking kingdom. So, yeah, tell me a little
Totally,
bit
totally
about
with you.
what I want to hear is how did you piece this together? I got to hear a little bit of your story in our interview in the reverse, but my audience hasn't gotten to hear this fully from you. But how did you go from financial planner, now author and international speaker, to a man who is not only living out this journey yourself, and again, it's an evolution, to now helping others do the same, where your life no longer feels like drudgery or like, life with a job. It's actually a job with a life, right? You get to enjoy your work, but also really design um, that that mansion you actually want to build in. We call it a speaker life. Um, but also really knowing that target, because we can build a grand mansion and then realize that's not where I want to live. I wanted to be in the mountains in a cabin with a stream running through it. I didn't want to be in this monolith of, so you got to figure that out first, have the target and make it. What prompted you to design really so much your book, your podcast, your day to day in a way that coupled all of that together to help others design their own lives in maybe a way that they'd never expected before.
Well, that's a question. That's a very, very, very good question. And how long have we got? Um,
we were about we've got about 20 minutes. So you've got some
okay.
time.
Whew. Right. So the thing about it is you get the reminder, okay, that you're mortal. And there's a couple of things: parents passing away, coming off the motorbike, a cancer scare, which was all clear. You get the idea that life isn't a rehearsal, and it goes back to, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to achieve um, throughout your life? What lives do you want to impact? Work-life balance is impossible. You're either working or you're in life. Um, it you can't have it perfect. So you have to make sure that if it is 50-50, if you've got to work 50% of the time, you work 50% of the time, and if you're lifing and having fun, and you do that 50% of the time. The other thing is that um, if you want to keep your family, and these are harsh lessons that I've learned over life, you need to put family time in your diary first.
Mm.
Okay, you need to plan for your family, your significant other. Okay, and that needs to be in the diary first, and it's a non-negotiable. You cannot fib to your family. Okay, so I talk to my clients about the entrepreneurial promise. When we're all starting off on this thing, we're going to be making zillions of pounds. you know it's going to be great. We're going to be in the big house, the decent cars, and we give up our corporate career for this. um, we've gone from probably 8:30 till 6, from to 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. pretty much, as the entrepreneur. And we don't have weekends, and you know holidays are forgotten about. And it's just because we don't appreciate everything that there is. So that was the purpose of the book, Think Simple, Win Big, is to remind people before they get on the journey what it is all about. Um, the Goals Do Come True podcast is back to, I wrote the goals. So I thought, well, is my experience the only one? Um, so I started interviewing people on their goals and their goal setting. And here we are, 200 episodes, coming close to 200 episodes down. And there are some common themes, and I'm not about to share them on here because you need to listen to the podcast, obviously. All right. I've got to get the numbers up somehow. But it's,
Reach that top 1%.
it's, yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you've got, you've got to be intentional. We've got to be intentional. You need to put the family time in the diary first. You need to put your holidays in the diary first. Because I bet everybody here can experience or has experienced the productivity increase that happens the week before you go on a 2 or 3 week holiday, right? That week before you're going away, your productivity goes through the roof. And it's not anything that we can manage to maintain for any consistent or long term period, but we can do it in short, quick bursts. Well, if we can do it then, shouldn't we be having more holidays so that we can jam in our production into that shorter period? And I'm sure if we looked at what everybody does, you know, we should be able to jam it in into much, much shorter periods. So that's that's what I'm doing. And you become intentional on what it is that you want to do, and you become intentional also on what what you are going to do and what you can delegate and get rid of and hand off to other people. And that's one of the lessons in my book, Think Simple, Win Big, is it's like you've got to delegate. So it's family time in the diary first. Have as much of it as you want. if if you want to do something, do it, because tomorrow's not promised to anybody. So I don't know if that answers the question in the short amount of time, but if you want me to expand on anything, or any other listeners want me to expand on anything,
You
I'm more
answered
than happy
that
to do that.
beautifully, Doug. And I think we forget to remember what's most important. So put the most important things in first. Work will always be there. Laundry will always be there, right? The things that you just part of everyday responsibilities will always be there. But I don't think that there are many people in their deathbed that wished they would have done the laundry faster or worked more hours, especially not at a job they didn't love. So pick a career that you actually really love and you feel is the kind of legacy you want to leave behind, and schedule what's most important. It's like we do everything else and then try to fit in those more important pieces. We get it backwards, and we've all heard this, but how many of us actually practice it? Those who are joining us live, let me know in the chat. Is this a good reminder for you? Because I know it is for me. Doug, I happen to adore my work. I love my work, but I'm going to make a confession to you right now. Um, Even though this isn't probably going to air until for about 4 or 5 months, for the live version, for those of you who are with us today, the live uncut, unbeautified version. Um, Today's my husband's birthday, and I forgot. He is so good about that, and I've just been working. We're working on some projects, and it wasn't in my diary. It wasn't in my calendar, because of course it's my husband's birthday. I won't overlook that. Um, this job, as much as I love it, will never be as important as he is, right? And so, not setting, I don't know, having a card ready for him, or at least saying happy birthday when we woke up, to me is just an indicator that maybe I'm a bit lopsided in my focus right now. And that was a really good reminder from you. Of course, I'm going to do some special
Uh,
things for him, for anybody who
I
wants
hope so.
to.
I hope so.
But I
I
just
hope
felt like,
so.
oh, he had to tell me today was his birthday. He did it subtly and very cute, but I was just like, wow. Ah, yeah.
Trust me, he's hurting. He's hurting.
Oh,
Right.
thanks, Doug.
I'm sorry. Just to make you feel really, really bad. Um, no. Right. Put put it in whatever diary system you use. Right. And add some reminders. A week out, 3 days out, a day out. You cannot. We get reminded to come on our podcast recordings. That I've had reminders from you to tell me that I'm coming here today, right? Sorry. You need to
You're
keep
right.
it
So just
simple,
rub it on in
right?
there.
I'm
I
just
deserve it.
having
I deserve
fun.
it. No, but you're absolutely right.
Well,
What is more important, and are we really making those those intentional actions work on our behalf? So thank you. I receive it. So how are you doing that? I'm going to get personal on your side. Now that I opened the door a little bit into mine. What
mm,
are you doing from financial advisor, s- um, author, top podcaster, international speaker? Still, there's things that you want in your life. Number one, how important is utilizing your voice, speaking? How important is that to helping you get that next level of life that you desire? And what are some of the ways that you have to look at your life every day to maybe simplify it and really continue to not lose focus of that goal that you want for yourself?
well, I mean, the speaking for me, I had the most amazing experience, and I want to repeat it as often as possible. And I got invited to speak at a conference in Dunedin in South Island, New Zealand. And on the back of that, I added in two other gigs because I was down there, down that neck of the woods. And it's like I could have gone, right, I want these big speaking fees because I'm coming all this way. But actually, the first firm had covered the cost of my um, premium economy. They were going to fly me business class, but I wanted to take my wife with me, and they weren't going to cover her business class as well. So we went premium economy, and I upgraded. But and then I had a speaking gig in the Gold Coast, and then I had a speaking gig in Auckland as well. And I just made the speaking fees enough to cover the internal flights and the hotels and all the other bits and pieces. So I had a month's holiday in New Zealand and Australia on the back of a couple of speaking gigs, right? And I'd love to be doing that on a regular basis. Love to be doing that. Now, sadly, this is why I'm telling you the lessons that I've learned, okay, is that I'm divorcing from my wife.
Oh,
So, I want,
did
yeah,
you forget her
it,
birthday?
no, no, I didn't do that.
Okay.
No, no, much, much, much bigger, bigger, bigger things,
Okay.
right? Yeah. Forgetting a birthday is inconsequential in the overall scheme of things, just to make you feel a little bit better. Um, yeah, so it's you want to do that, but I think we get, and you touched on it, we get ahead of ourselves really, and we've got to put the groundwork in, and you've got to be doing cheap gigs, right? To start with, right at the beginning, maybe even free. Aha! Okay, just to get the experience, just to get the movie reel, just to get all of that stuff, just to get the collateral around you. Because if you haven't got 200 episodes of a podcast as collateral, because that's all it is for me now, the two books, collateral, right? It's just demonstrating my value. It's just demonstrating my capability. Now, if you haven't got all of that, then you need your movie reel and you need to get a mate along with you to film you whilst you're doing your gigs and just do what it is, whatever's necessary to get the experiences. And then your confidence will increase. Confidence will with my clients and my fee charging, I charge the same amount three times and then I increase it.
Mm.
Charge it three times and then increase it. Okay. And that's the way you increase your fees in that regard.
I love
But
that model, Doug, because so many speakers want to just jump right in to those higher level fees. And I think that there is something to be said for branding yourself up front. You can say, "Hey, my base rate is, let's say, 10,000. However, I'd really like to get my foot in the door of your organization." And then you can mentally have maybe that lower amount that you'll accept for to get your foot in the door instead of, holding firm. And currency comes in all different forms and fashions, right? There's the currency of well done video footage, like that's incredible, of um, important
business class
introductions.
flights,
Yeah,
business class flights that,
being able to bring your
to New
spouse,
Zealand.
no matter what
Yeah,
happens in the end.
absolutely. Yeah. Hey, it, it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that you said that because I know that for most speakers, their next best talk, and generally always a step up higher in pay, is generally happens at their last talks, right? That's where
Mhm.
you meet the people, that's where people get more familiar with you, that's where you're really building your brand. And to me, no talk is a free talk. There's all different kinds of currency, but even if you're talking about the cash in your pockets, there's all different kinds of ways to monetize any given talk. So if the host check is falling short, there's other ways to monetize that. So with your kind of attitude and that flexible spirit that you have, that's why where you are, and that's why you're going to be where you're going to be, because you are designing a profession and a life that you actually want to live in, you can be proud of, but that you're not serving, that's serving you. And to me, that's what it's all about. You can have the greatest job, all the money in the world. The most miserable people in the world that I've ever met have multiples more money than I do, yet they're miserable and self-destructive and all the things. I would much rather have a beautiful life and simplicity along with my success. And you're basically, in all of the different elements of the work that you do, you're really an advocate for that. So I love that. So what's next for you? What's that next target that you're looking at?
Well, it's so I've coined the phrase and got it trademarked, the work optional lifestyle financial plan. So as
Okay,
a
so the
financial
work
planner,
optional lifestyle financial plan.
lifestyle financial plan.
Okay.
Okay. It's a mouthful, right? I didn't think it through. I didn't think it through.
Well,
It
it says a
sounds good.
lot, though.
And
It is a lot of words, but it also says a lot.
when I explain it, it works, right? So there's so many people out there in the world. Well, essentially, when it comes to financial services, there's three types of people. There's people that haven't got enough money, and I needed to speak to them 20 or 30 years ago. There's people that have got enough money, but they don't know that they've got enough money. And then there's people that have got too much money, right? That's it. You fall in one of those things, and you're either teetering from the first one where you've not got enough money to you've got enough but you don't really know. Okay, so my job for next year is to take 40 of those people in the middle and demonstrate to them the day that their work is optional,
Mm,
because entrepreneurs love working. However, if they know that work is optional, it takes an awful lot of stress out of their lives.
yeah.
Okay, because they know. So that's where it's work is optional. So where's that day? Okay, and there's a lot of people that think, oh my goodness, I'm going to be working till I'm 67 or 70 or 72. But most of the planning that I do with people, if they think 67, we're talking 63, 62, 61, because they think that they're going to need, and this will vary from country to country, and Medicare and blah, all that sort of stuff. Okay, but typically people think they, if they need $40,000 or pounds, they think that they're going to need that all the way through their life if that's their lifestyle. Okay, but the fact is, when you get to 80, you haven't got the energy to be able to be spending that money. In which case, so your needs tail off. In which case, actually, we can take some of the money that you were saving for the tail end of your life and bring it forward into the
Mm,
first part and the early stages of your retirement years, and we can bring that forward. And I always shove in, I call it proper holidays, right? Proper holidays. They say, well, we've got holidays. So I'll add a line in there, an expense, and it's called proper holidays. So if you're going on a proper holiday, how much are you going to spend? And it's like, oh, 10,000 bucks or 15,000 bucks. It's like, well, let's see if we can do that every other year for the years from 62 to 70, because you're not going to want to go long haul and all the rest of it when you pass 70. Most people, generally. So that's where next year, 40 people, I'm going to be changing their lives for the better, along with, more podcast episodes. I've got another book in me, and uh,
I
there
love
we go.
it. I love it. So if you want to be one of those 40 people, Speak Packed audience, or you just want to hear Doug's podcast, or read some of his books, or just kind of be in his journey with him and glean some of his wisdom, what would you say, Doug, is the best way for people to connect with you?
Okay, well, my website, dougbennett.co.uk. You may or
Doug
may not
Bennett,
need the www.
BENNETT.co.uk. Okay.
Yes. And then I'm obviously on Facebook and LinkedIn. Um, Doug Bennett. You can find me, Doug Bennett. There's not many of us. Actually, there was a guy called Doug Bennett who was in Doug and the Slugs, which was a Canadian band. Now, he died in the 50s, and he still ranks higher on Google than me. And that's just not fair, is
Ouch.
it?
Well, also your podcast is on all the majors, right? So just look up
Yes. That's called Goals Do Come True.
goals do come true. All right. So, my signature question at the end, Doug. What is a challenge that you can leave the Speak Packed audience that will help them get that much closer this year? We're coming upon 2025 as we're airing this, that will get them closer to that desired low work, no work life. Um, and specifically, I mean, you've honed in on utilizing your voice to get you that lifestyle that you want through your podcast or your books. That's another utilization of your voice. And of course, speaking. So, what's a challenge that you can leave the Speak Packed audience that if they really begin implementing this seriously on a daily basis, that they cannot help but be a lot closer to that desired lifestyle that they want
Well,
at the end of the year? It's
as
not
you
what I
would
would
expect,
expect. Okay.
it's going to be simple because it's think simple, win big, right? So it's going to be simple. Take a notepad, write down your goals every single day, just 10 of them, various sizes. I am a great timekeeper, you know. I am happily married. If you, I had that for a long time. Okay. I ride, I drive, I own, I live. All of these things as if you've already completed them. We need to complete. We need to have your subconscious concerned about it because it's like it's not happened already. So how am I going to make it happen? You need to give that instruction 10 times a day, right? 10 different goals. Don't look at them when you rewrite them tomorrow. Don't look at the ones that you wrote yesterday because there will be some that will fall by the wayside. Write them again, write them again, write them again, write them again. And when you are writing the 10 goals consistently, then you can start making some plans around the goals. It's only then when you've got the 10 consistent ones that you start writing the plans because it's very easy to get excited and write a plan for a goal that was just a fleeting goal. Okay. So if it is the number of speaking gigs that you want, if it is, you know, I am a successful, world recognized speaker, is one of my goals. I'm not yet, but I will be doing this sort of thing that will make it happen for me. Okay. So write them down day in, day out. Seems very simple. And it is. It's not hard. It will take you less than 10 minutes. And it will take you less time and less time as you you know move through. And then you're telling your subconscious brain exactly what it needs to do, what it needs to look out for to help you achieve those goals. If you go down the mall, that's your shopping place, right? In the States. Okay. You go in the supermarket section and you go past the magazine section. You go past there once a week. You've probably done it for the last 10 years. Now, if you take up photography as a hobby, next time you go through there, you will notice all of the photography magazines in the magazine rack. And they've been changed every week or every month for the last 10 years, and you never noticed them. But now, all of a sudden, photography is important to you. You see the magazines. You have to tell your subconscious what it is that you want to achieve. It will see the data because it's there protecting you from all of the stimuli that comes your way. All right. And it will go, whoa, hold on a second. You told me you wanted to achieve that. That piece of data there will help you move towards it. And it will stop you dead to help you towards your goals. So write them down 2 or 3 weeks till you can write them without referring back. And then jobs are good, as they say in England.
Mm. You know what? Just it all it comes full circle to your to your messaging, and that is simple strategies are often the most powerful ones. They're definitely the most sticky, right? And we've all heard the science behind the reticular activator system, and our bodies physically go to work for what we tell it, and we choose every day what we tell it. We can tell it, oh my gosh, the house needs painting. Darn. Darn, it needs
Yeah, you
painting.
want if
Gosh
you
darn
want
it, I'm never
if
going
you
to be able to
want
get
doom
this
and
painted.
gloom, yeah, if you want doom and gloom, just ask for it, and you will get tons of it.
You can ask for doom and gloom. I
You want
love
a
that.
bad day? I'll go out and find some stuff for you to have a bad day. Right. Choose. Choose to have a good day.
I love the way that you said that you write down the 10, but you don't really go back and look at the 10 that you wrote before, if I'm getting this right. Because the
Correct.
ones that are real, that you really do want, they don't go anywhere. Whereas maybe those fleeting ones, they kind of die off, and that's okay. So your body knows where to focus. I'd never really thought about that. I love that. One of the things that I do, let's talk about the house that needs painted. Um, instead of so I'll make a goal of painting the house, but as instead of saying, how are we going to find the time to do this, or how are we going to find somebody we can trust, whatever, I'll um, I'll ask myself a question like, where is the best paint contractor for this job? Now, that's kind of an inside joke because my husband was a paint contractor for 40 years. So I have a built in one, but we're just using this as an example. Um, he owned a big paint contracting company. He's retired now, but he still does the things. But let's just say, where can I find that? Or maybe I'm not sure if I want to stone it or to go ahead and just repaint it. I asked the question, and has this happened to you, Doug? In that when you ask a question, similarly, like you start seeing, and similarly to that magazine that you were talking about, you start seeing solutions and answers that you hadn't yet maybe considered before somebody happens to say something and it just turns on a light bulb for you. Do you find that as well?
That's it exactly. That's it exactly working. Okay. Because I had that goal of 500,000, right? When I increased from 250 to 500,000, I'd written that goal down, and then I got a phone call. And ordinarily, I'd flip the phone calls off. It's like it would be somebody trying to buy my business. Yeah, 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 whatever. And then they just said a sentence, and I did the quick maths. I have to use a calculator these days. I used to be able to do it in my head, but I use a calculator these days. But I did the maths, and it's like that's gonna that we need to talk more about this because actually that will get me to my goal. And that is exactly how it works, which is why you have to write it down. You have to physically give that instruction. It has to transfer up into your brain by writing it down. And then your brain will go off and it will find the information for you because the information is there. It's always been there. It's just that you haven't looked for it before.
So the strategies and the solutions are already there. You just need to open yourself up to receive them, right? Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful way to end.
And you find out the price of that job, the painting and decorating. Your husband knows exactly how much it is. Then go out and get a speaking gig so somebody else can do it for you.
Amen. Ooh, that's a whole nother conversation we can go into. But let's end on that because I'm glad you brought that up. There are so many speakers out there who want that beautiful speaker life. They want those big paydays on a regular basis, yet they're unwilling to make the investments as you would in any serious business and do the elbow grease that any serious business takes. For some reason, speaking's just supposed to happen. You're fabulous, right, Doug Bennett? You're fabulous. You've got it all. Why should I have to work at this? I just step up to the stage and deliver my thing, and it all works for me. That can happen. It's You're not going to get those consistent 3 to 5 high value engagements every month unless you treat speaking like a business. And you just basically said it without saying it. That's the key right there.
It is, and if I can add, right, we we all left school or college or university with a debt, and we spent money on learning how to do things, and we seem to give up when we're at a higher age of investing, because that's what you were doing. You were investing money in your education. But now, because you're 50, you don't feel the need to invest anymore in your education. Wrong. It is an investment, and you need to pay somebody to help you get there a lot quicker. Now, you can do it yourself, but what if something takes you 5 years to do it, and you give somebody 10 or 15 grand and you can do it in a year? Then you've got 4 years of compounding the money that you've spent. It's a no-brainer.
It's math, not magic, right? Yes, beautiful.
Absolutely.
Okay, Doug, this was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun on your podcast, and I'm so glad you agreed to come onto mine because you have a wealth of wisdom. Look Doug Bennett up. He is easy to find. He's getting his voice out there. Make sure to connect with him. Give him and me flowers today by posting this forward. I'm sure you got value out of it. So share it so others can do the same. Thank you for being with us. And Doug, thank you very much for sharing your wisdom with us.
It's been a pleasure.
Ciao, ciao for now. Okay, that was a lot of fun. We went long, but I lost track of time. I was so involved.